Hello, Steeler Nation. I'm sorry I forgot to add myself to the feed, but who would have expected this game to end any other way than TJ Watt putting Kirk Cousins on his butt to finish the game? I can't think of a better. I'm hoarse today. Obviously, my dog's a little upset. My dog's like, oh, the Browns are still going to tie you. Because right now, the Steelers are sitting at the number 1 spot in the AFC North, ahead of the Baltimore Ravens, ahead of the Cincinnati Bengals, which just got 16-10 demolished on home court against one of the worst teams in the league. Congratulations, Jared Mayo, for spreading the victory in Cincinnati for your Patriots against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Guys, this is your show. Obviously, your comments, your questions, pop them up. I've got a few things to talk about. I know I'll get to them too through your comments as well. I know this is a big one. W's all around, Brock. Definitely, my friend. Definitely, my friend. Let's go, William Stillwell. Hell yes. Hell yes. Guys, we are on YouTube. YouTube's where we're catching the comments. So if you're seeing us on Twitter right now, Facebook did not get refreshed. All the Steeler Nation was partying down at the terrible tailgate, enjoying this win on the road against the Atlanta Falcons there themselves. They didn't get it refreshed. We'll have Facebook up next week. Not a big deal. Miranda, my love to you. Woo! Here we go. Boswell MVP. Let's talk about Boswell for a quick second here. We have Boswell not kick 1, not kick 2, not kick 3 from 50 yards, but still not kick 4, not kick 5, 6. 6 field goals plus a punt. I don't know how in Hades the NFL gets away with that referee crew watching them take out our punter's plant leg and not calling at least 2 penalties on that to offset. That is annihilation. And unfortunately, I hate to say it because I'm a positive guy, but I feel that play may have cost Cam half of the season, which is insane. Absolutely a terrible job by that referee crew, which also screwed up from the right angle. TJ Watt standing up as the ball is snapped. Should have gotten that turnover. They should never have gotten a touchdown in this game. Our defense came to play. 10 points, get used to seeing that from defenses this year, from our defense. We are a top defense. I've been saying it all year. This defense is going to be tough for any offense to score on this year, Steeler Nation. And guys, that's what Steeler Nation loves to cheer for. Defense. 2 interceptions, 2 big ones that they didn't call back. All the other stuff that they called back, Steelers' biggest plays, the sack fumble for what? The big play to convert the first down on a big 36-yard play, which would have been the longest play for the offense all game for George Pickens. But as I stated in the chat over on SteelerNation.com, the best football forum on the internet. If you're not a member of SteelerNation.com, go over to SteelerNation.com, click on the forum button. It is free to join. We talk about the game all week. Smart people all week talking about great ideas and great things going on, and that's how I get a lot of good opinions as well. Working it out, speaking with my friends over at SteelerNation.com. But while I was talking over there at SteelerNation.com, if you pushed, now this is what Jamar Chase does. You push low. You push on the hip. Larry Fitzgerald. If you push that defender on the hip, you can hit the hip, go on up for the ball. That's what the big receivers do. That's what the number 1 receivers do in this league, and the best ever. He pushed him high. You could see his body turn and get pushed back. Easy for the referee to call. It sucked, but it was the right call. You push low, or what he should have done, he's the bigger boy. He should have jumped over the player. Hit defensive pass interference at worst case scenario because the man was coming to him and not turning around on the football. Would have been an easy conversion either on DPI or catching that football. That should have been the play that was done, and that should be the takeaway for George Pickens moving forward because I'm still on the fence about him being a number 1 receiver. Don't want to see him run the ball at all. Running 10 yards into the backfield, that is inexcusable for any runner. When you are a wide receiver with the ball in your hands, you have to stay lateral at the least. but you cannot go backwards. And he cost us much yardage and the play and the ability to convert on that play, especially a running play. You can't lose 9 yards on a running play. You can't. You just can't in the NFL, ever. It's inexcusable. But 2 big pickups on first downs early in the game that extended the sticks. And guys, if we're kicking 50-yarders on the road, when they were kicking a chip shot because we stoned them from getting in the end zone the first time, that's a 4-point swing right there, and we stole 9 points over 50 yards. That's the difference in the game. Essentially, 5 points would have been the difference in the game. We ended up winning by 8 with a last-minute tack-on field goal as the game ends. That's the ball game. That's how you statistically win ball games, and you strategically win ball games, especially with Tomlin. Tomlin's been in this league too long to know how to win football games on the road in a hostile environment, utilizing strategies to make sure we are the last possession. We are trying to get the ball across their last. We can argue that 4th and 1, and we'll talk about that a little bit later because I do have some big opinions on that. But so far, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Con, welcome to the show. Let's go. Let's go, Con. 9, TJ Watt, you madman. Guy is a game, dude. I don't know in any universe where TJ Watt is not the best defensive player in the year, especially when they're throwing up stats on the screen. 3-time sack champion, never done before in the NFL ever. Not even Reggie White, the best sacker ever. 3-time sack champion. 3 times should have been NFL MVP. Defensive MVP. Defensive player of the year. 3 times should have been defensive player of the year. Only has 1. It's sickening. It definitely shouldn't have gone to a guy in the same division who had clean sheet games that didn't do crap in games. Every single game, Watt at least had a TFL, a sack, a PD, an interception, a fumble, or a forced fumble. The guy was making plays every game for us and still is continuing that mantra this season. He was right to dog those refs after saying he was offside because he clued in on that. The center lifting his head right when he snaps the ball. He clued on it, and he had it freaking right. You guys watch that replay again from the back. I didn't see a line of scrimmage angle but from the backfield angle. As soon as the head came up, the ball was snapped, and TJ Watt's standing up. He's not even in the neutral zone yet. He's standing up. He read it perfectly. He made the play, and that's what we need. W for Miranda. That's it. Johnny, let's go. Let's go, Johnny. 6 for 6 and a nice punt. Exactly. Miles. TJ should have had 3 sacks. TJ should have had. He put up an NFL Defensive Player of the Year game week 1. And this is one thing that I said is the best part. Talked about it at my show, which some of you guys, I know Miles was on my show this week on Friday night, but not giving TJ Watt NFL Defensive Player of the Year last year and giving it to someone else in the same division, I said, look out this year. And look out indeed. Because they had to pull 2 of his big plays off of the freaking charts. Otherwise, this game would have been over in the second quarter. It would have been. We would have had this game over in the second quarter because we had Kirk Cousins nailed down the stretch. William Stillwell. I still have a lot of hope for Fields. Wasn't a perfect game, but his legs are a weapon. Here we go. Exactly. And that was the first quarter too, William. Missed 2 wide open players. Absolutely wide open players in the first quarter. And I'll bring up the stats too on my phone while we're talking here quickly because he did have some pretty efficient stats in this game. 17 for 23. Would have been 19 for 23 if he hit a wide open Najee Harris on a screen, hit a wide open Jefferson on the sideline on his first 2 throws. I mean, there were wide open guys. When nobody between him and the player, those should always be completions. But it was the first quarter. He put a couple balls on the ground. He calmed down after that moment. And that's big for us because it's his first time running this offense, running this game with a new team. He did a great job for the circumstances, especially since we're supposed to have a quarterback ahead of him in the lineup. People were asking, what week is Justin Fields going to be the starter? Looks like right now it's week 1. Miles, I'm actually liking our offense. They just need to clean it up and not rely so heavy on the run like we did this game. But we got to rely on the run. This is our offense now, Miles. We got Warren, we got Najee, we got the offensive line that we've drafted to be a running offensive line. The tight ends are sold into the system. We didn't have to utilize the wide receivers as much as we did, but George Pickens did start to pick it up there toward the middle of the game and had a good game as well. Let's see what your Brownies aren't even playing yet. They're playing Dallas. They're coming up soon. Let's see what he ended up with. Pickens ended up with 85 yards on 6 receptions, which is good. If he didn't hit the guy, he would have been over 100. If he just jumped up and caught that ball, it would have been over 100, would have had a chance at a touchdown. We're still trying to wait and see who the first player on the Steelers is going to be to get that first touchdown of the season. I'm thinking it's Fields. You guys let me know who you think it's going to be, and we'll talk about it a little later. Piru, how about that clock management at the end of the first half? Tomlin is so bad. Trying to remember how it even edged out at the end of the first half. Shite. Because they had the ball. We didn't inside of 2 minutes. If you want to, razz on a guy for poor clock management inside of 2 minutes when we didn't have possession, that's not on Tomlin. That's on the Atlanta Falcons for actually executing toward the end of the first half and getting their touchdown. Shit. TJ Watt had a sack fumble. And what do you say then? I mean, I'm not a Ravens fan. I don't like to blame refs. But TJ Watt did get off that ball and timed that snap perfectly. And they shouldn't have even gotten a touchdown inside of 2 minutes. So for you to be upset about the 2-minute management when the other team has the ball, I don't see it, man. I really don't. Especially when I track 2 minutes. Especially the last 2 minutes of the game where we freaking won the game. Peyton Butler! Watt should have 3 sacks and 3 fumble recovers. Dude, the guy's a monster. He's 100% healthy, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait until it is 2 Badgers on both edges. Watt and Herbig on each edge. Highsmith had a good play there late in the game. For some reason, Highsmith wasn't turning it on as quick. I did like that Ogunjobi did finally get a nice sack there toward the end of the game as well. Like at least crush that pocket to force the interception on the play before, on the drive before TJ Watt finished the game for us. But that's what you want to see. This defense is going to make plays for us. This is an awesome, awesome defense. I said on my show on Friday, I said these quarterbacks, when they're in a passing situation, are going to be lucky to have 3 seconds to get the ball out. As you see, our safeties are jumping the balls. Our corners are jumping the balls. We had a lot of PDs this game. This was a great defensive game, and it's because our pass rush and our front 7 is getting in there. I'd like to see our front 7 be a little bit more dominant in the running game because it seemed like they were able to get some yardage there with Anderson early in the game. Chunk yardage, 7 yards, 6 yards, 9 yards. Like, you don't want to see that at all on first and second downs. You want to see the first and second downs get held to 2 yards. 1 yard, 3 yards, stuff. But, unless TJ Watt was busting off his guy and making a play in the backfield, that was the only time we were getting stuffs, it seemed like, in the running game. That's got to get shored up, especially with Ogunjobi, Benton, Highsmith, and Queen. You got to step up your game, baby. Queen, you got to step up your game. We got you for a reason. You're running sideline to sideline in the preseason. You did not look as good in this game. You're missing tackles. You're getting the spot. Guys are running off in you and ripping off another 5 yards. You got to be better, Queen. Don't play like a Raven on our team. Derpy, we're from the town with a great football team. We cheer the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's it, Derpy. The great Pittsburgh Steelers polka done in the 70s as we dance the entire time. I'm here for the dog content. Thanks, Derps. Well, Liza's happy to be here. Liza, sit. Tell me about the all right, I got to take you off the screen here for a second, Derps. Tell me about your Cleveland Browns and how you think they're going to do today. Well, I think they're going to win the game because we've got the best rapist in football. You do actually have the best rapist in football. 27 rapes, right? I think, no, 24, 2 dozen. I can count. You can't because you're a Steeler fan with a rapey quarterback with rapists. You stop it. You stop it, dog, right there. We're done. He's retired. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And he didn't go to court for any of it. Neither did my guy. All right. We'll agree to disagree on that one. But we'll see how they do against Dallas, because if Dallas wins, Steelers are atop of the AFC North and no one else. That's the way it rolls. Miranda, Baby P, exactly. Press Graves, Miles. The rest were atrocious. It was a one-sided game. The only call that really hurt me the most is the one that hurt our punter, and he may be out for a while. That hurts me a lot, especially since we finally found our punter again. Finally have a punter that can flip fields. And now we're back to square freaking one, because I think he's going to miss a while. And that is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Randy and Sharon Z, your dog is awesome. Don't think he isn't listening and understand. I know. She's a pretty smart girl. Liza's a good girl. Miles, I feel like it was targeted heavily against us. It is in Atlanta. Generally, home teams get more calls than the away teams. It's just naturally not intentional, but just the natural progression of the way games go. And I've seen thousands of games. It's the way games go. Randy and Sharon Z, you take the points on the 4th and 1. Let's talk about it. That was it. Now, my problem wasn't what we did on 4th and 1, not going for it. But me as a coach on the road, hostile conditions, up by 5, knowing we're going to get 8 if we kick a chip shot field goal. My call would have been line up at the line of scrimmage and don't freaking snap it, but pretend like you're going to. And if they come across that line, you snap the damn ball, because we would have gotten an easy first down without having to do anything. Just by the rookie raising his head up, we would have gotten a first down. That would have been it. If he raised his head up and didn't snap the ball, we would have gotten the first down there and we would have won the game. Hell, we could have punched it in at that point. But I agree with you. We should have taken the points with the foot. But my point is if we didn't get that first down from the penalty, call timeout, get the points, go up by 8, see what they can do. And then win the game on defense and win the game easing out the clock on offense, because at that point, I think there's 3.5 minutes left in the game. A little bit more time would have been run off the clock, I assume, after the kick. So, yeah, about 3:20 on the clock at that point. And that should be in a situation where you have to force them to beat you on 10 plays. And that's pretty much the whole game. So they would have had to try to tie it by the end of the game and nothing else. Oh, also, let's talk about the last 2 minutes of the game. I'm going to go back to the last 2 minutes of the game. We let them score, and we still ended up getting a freaking field goal out of it. So you were dead wrong on that. Whoever said we did poor management in the last 2 minutes of the first half, you're dead wrong, because we ended up with a field goal, and we were only down 9-7, 8, 9, 10. Not down 1 point. Check yourself, man. Watch the game. Watch it again. Randy and Sharon Z puts you up 8. Yeah, exactly. We talked about that. Peyton Butler. Yeah, but we had the momentum at that point, and look what happened with Kirk and his back up against the wall. You're right, Peyton. We definitely froze them out for a 4 and out. We got the ball right back. I think that was the interception at that point. Randy Sharon Z, Watt was MVP last year. Should have been DPY. Hell, if he keeps playing like this, he might win. Might be the first time a defensive player legitimately wins MVP, because he plays like the best player on the field. And we've seen it for the last 3 years. Miles, Highsmith had a crucial tip ball at the end zone. Yes, he did. And that's what I do love about Highsmith. He's still making plays. Miles, also we acknowledge Joey Porter's coverage ability. Drake London had 0 catches. And Deontay Jackson was worth the trade. So was Deshaun Elliott. Those are great, excellent points. I'm actually going to look up the Carolina game right now. I want to see how our buddy Deontay Johnson did in the Carolina game, which they lost 47-10. Stats on the Carolina Panthers. Deontay Johnson ended the game 2 catches for 19 yards. It was worth the freaking trade. So far, week 1, we got way more out of it than we let up. I agree with you 100%, Miles. William Stillwell, I'm feeling confident that next week Bo Nix is going to be seeing ghosts. Here we go. Bo Nix is a good player. I know Colin Cowher is really high on Bo Nix. Colin Cowherd is also a guy that can't accept that we beat Seattle in the Super Bowl because he cried in his Doritos that night, whatever he eats. But Bo Nix is a talented quarterback. He's a mobile quarterback. He knows how to make plays. Problem is, he is a rookie. And I like our defense against anybody. Our defense went up against Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is statistically like the most consistent quarterback for the last decade, other than like freaking Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes and Brady throw them out. Kirk Cousins has been quietly like one of the best quarterbacks of the last decade. No matter who he's playing for, Washington, Minnesota, well, now Atlanta, but we made him look bad. And we did a good job of getting pressure. We did a good job of stopping him from being able to, throw the screens and, delay time like that way. He didn't have any time to make it past 2 reads. His 3rd read, he was getting hit. And he was starting to throw worm burners. He was starting to, like, get rid of that football as quickly as he could. Because you guys said Watt should have had 3. I counted 5. Watt should have had 5. If he wasn't throwing some balls into the ground, he would have had 5 sacks in that game. That's something else. The guy is just insane. You got it, Derps. TG 22. The refs stopped this game from getting ugly. Well, they kept it close enough, but we covered. Randy and Sharon Z. Our punter is very important, and he is done. Yeah, I'm worried about his plant leg. The way, as soon as his foot went down and he got hit from the front, that is an ACL injury usually. And if it's an ACL, he's gone for the year. I'm hoping to high heavens that his ACL is still intact. And it's just a hyperextension, because a hyperextension is just a couple weeks. I will take a hyperextension over. Oh, actually, what being pushed from that side, that's actually your PCL that pops. Yeah, because your knee's in the front, your ACL comes down across the front, your PCL's in the back, but when you get pushed from the front, it extends your back and it pops your PCL, your posterior cruciate ligament, which is in the back of your knee. So that's what we got to look out for in the injury report coming forward when we listen to Tomlin. Guys, let me know if you're listening to the show and let us know, because it's either going to be a PCL or a hyperextension. If it's a hyperextension or contusion, I'm fine with that. That's the best case scenario. If it's a PCL, he's done for the season. Dennis Wright, or let Fields audible. Well, we'll see how they can do. I think there's probably more audibles in Anderson's offense than there was in Fichtner or Canada's offense. Randy Sharon Z. Now, here's the big question. Who do you start next week? Well, honestly, if Russell Wilson is healthy, I start Russell Wilson. Me personally. I think he is the quarterback for this offense. But to tell you the truth, I'm happy starting Fields either way. I mean, it's not like we spent anything on Russell Wilson. We didn't spend a dime on him. He's playing for league minimum, and the Dallas and Denver Broncos are paying for his salary, and I'm happy with that. And guys, I don't know what you're drinking today, but I am doing boozy Dr. Peppers. This is a Corona mixed with amaretto liqueur, and it tastes just like a Dr. Pepper, and I'm wrecked because I'm on my 3rd. Yeah, I've gotten this far down through the bottle. I've only had 3 of them. So I don't know what you're drinking, but cheers to you, Steeler Nation. Cheers to a Steeler victory, and cheers to hopefully your Browns losing. We're not going to lose. We're the best team in the league on paper. We cannot start Wilson. Fields managed this game well. David, that is a good point. And I'm not going to argue against anyone that wants to be pro Fields after this game. Got us a win, a tough win on the road. Did a fine job, put a couple balls on the ground early, but I thought and missed some players early, but I felt got in control of the game as the game progressed. Threw a great deep ball to GP, and it's not his fault that GP got the OPI. Not at all. So for what it is in the context of what we had with a new quarterback on the road, being our backup quarterback essentially, coming in and getting us a W on the road, I can't argue against wanting to start Fields the next game. I also can't argue against Russell Wilson coming back healthy and being able to start the next game, especially against Denver on the road, his old team. I want to see Russell Wilson play his old team, just like I wanted to see Anderson coach against his old team like we did today, and we got the W. You can't say competitors don't give a crap about playing against the teams that jettisoned them because Anderson has a chip on his shoulder. Russell Wilson for damn sure has a chip on his shoulder. If we were playing Chicago this year, I'd be like, I don't care who the starter is. It's like Fields is starting. Or at least we're packaging Fields every other play. Because that is what gets you a lot of that interior fight. Like we played I think when we played the Cardinals the last time, like Connor just ran wild on us. That's what happens. That's what happens. Fire Tomlin. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. The Fire Tomlin crowd after a win on the road with our backup quarterback, a quarterback that wasn't even in our system. You're hilarious, liberals. You're hilarious. Dawn! Not a lot of plays for Jay Warren. That is true. I thought Najee had a good game. Let's look at their numbers right now quickly. Going back up to the top here with Pitt. Stats. So Harris had 70 yards on 20 carries. That's a solid game. 3.5 yards per carry. That is solid. A lot of you guys were ripping on Najee anyway when he was under 3 yards a carry. Now he's at 3.5. 2 catches or 2 targets. What do you have receiving? He had 1 catch for 9 yards off of 2 targets. The one was just thrown behind him. He could have ran for 8 to 10 yards on that play easily before he even got touched if Fields completed that first pass in the first half. Fields with 57 yards rushing on 14 attempts, 4.1 average. Of course, that is something big. Plus, now bringing back the quarterback sneak, which is something that has not been in our offense since we've had Ben Roethlisberger, since before Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger would sneak it maybe once, high like twice a year, max. And for a guy the same size as Tom Brady, who used to quarterback sneak when it was like third and 3, if he saw something, he was ripping it because he was a smarter quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger. He was. I think Ben was a phenomenal athlete and more athletic than Brady, but Brady's probably the smartest quarterback to ever live and play in the NFL. Not going to lie about that. Warren was behind Patterson. Patterson had 4 rushes for 13 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Warren ended up with 2 rushes for 7 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. And of course, George Pickens, 1 rush for minus 10 yards. Let's forget about giving George Pickens the ball in end arounds ever again because he's not made for it. I like quicker receivers anyway. I always like more like Deontay Johnson was good on those. Claypool was great on the end arounds. Claypool was actually great on end arounds. So I can't be that upset around that. Damn it, they're showing the Washington-Tampa Bay game in my region. Like, I want to watch that. Damn it. So receiving-wise, Pickens, 6 for 85. Freiermuth, 4 for 27. 6.8 average for Freiermuth, but still, it's nice to see, which we all knew, Freiermuth was going to start getting worked into this system as well. Then it was Warren, which we're talking about Warren right now. Warren was 3rd on the team in receptions with 2 catches for 13 yards. So, yeah, he might not have been seen in the running game as much. He still had 2 receptions for 13 yards, got some good yardage for us, played pretty well. Pruitt came out of nowhere. We were targeting Pruitt all the time. 1 for 9 yards. Harris, 1 for 9 yards. Austin, 1 for 7. Washington, 1 for 5. And Jefferson, 1 for 1. I'm saddened for that because Jefferson is our X receiver. Our X receiver generally gets the most targets in our offense. So for our X receiver to have 1 reception for 1 yard is not freaking good. That is Miles Austin numbers from last year where he's getting targeted 5-6 times with no catches last year when he was starting when Deontay Johnson was out. So we're still trying to figure out who our X receiver is and trying to figure out ways to get him open. We at least would have had a first down on that first pass to him. And it would have been about 7 yards and it would have moved the chains, but unfortunately did not happen because Fields threw it way behind him. He was too excited in the beginning of that game. Glad he calmed it down. He looked like a game winner by the end of the game. Miles, I'm really optimistic of this team. This is the right team to have. And guys, we're a brand new team. We're a brand new team. New quarterbacks, new system. And we have a very easy first half schedule. And this is the way I was saying on my show on Friday, the way we wanted it. You work out the kinks early in the season against the lesser talent. So if we are sitting at week 9 and we only have 2-3 losses, we are in a very good situation for our toughest schedule for the last 8 games or 9 games. I forget how many games we play now. 17 now. Yeah. So, but first 9 games are very winnable. Last 8, tough as hell. But if this offense starts to click, gets an identity, understands what we're doing, the play actions and the packages work well, look out, because then the back half of the season, which is supposed to be harder, doesn't become that much harder because of how good we became in the first half of the year. This is the best possible scenario of season we could have had for a brand new offense. And the way that the season's strength of schedule has been very light in the first half, very hard in the second half. That's the exact way I want it to be, because it means that we have time for this offense to gel, this offensive line to play together, play games together, the running game to click, the play action game to click, so that by the time we're hitting the Kansas Cities, by the time we're hitting the Ravens twice, by the time we're hitting Cleveland twice, by the time we're hitting all those tough games down at the end of the season, we are already moving in our offense, know who we are, know what we can do. And now it becomes a certain situation of, can you stop us? Because this is what we're going to do. And can you score and move the football against this great defense? Because this defense is going to be the engine of what gives us wins this season. Miles, I want to see Muth more involved, though he deserves some more targets. Yes, he does. And he is going to get those targets, honestly. He just got a new contract for a big reason. The reason is why? Because we don't have an X receiver, so we got to throw the ball to Muth more, which we did today. He was second on the team on receptions. And that usually goes to the wide receivers. George Pickens was 1. Deontay Johnson used to be 1 and 2 with George Pickens. Muth used to be down there 3 or 4, depending on the running backs and how we work them into the games. But now Muth is number 2. And that's the way I expect this moving forward into the season as well. If we had Russell Wilson in this game, I think Muth would have been targeted a lot more in this game. Absolutely would have been. Russell Wilson is better at going through progressions just because he's been in the league longer. They're both franchise quarterbacks, though Russell Wilson has won a Super Bowl and should have won 2. Kenny! Offense needs to clean things up. I'm fine with either Russ, Fields, or Allen. I don't want Allen. I'm not going to lie. I don't want Allen at all. But I'm with you on Russ or Fields. Thank you, Kenny. That's a good point. Randy and Sharon Z back again. We need a true number 1 receiver. We don't have one. Hey, Viola, you having fun? Steelers won. High five. Woo! We don't have one. And I agree. I'm one of those people. I'm like, I want George Pickens to be our number 1 receiver. But as a Steeler fan, it is rare when the Steelers' Z receiver is their number 1 receiver. The only times I can ever suss that out, Lewis Lips, yes, he was the number 1 receiver as a Z receiver. Number 2, the only other one I can think of, Santonio Holmes. And we still had Hines Ward playing on the other side of that guy. So both of those guys working together made each other better. Same thing with Plex and Ward. Ward was the X, though, for both of those guys. You can make some arguments with Swan, but he always had Stallworth. Stallworth was the X, doing the dirty work, getting all the receptions, getting the possession yardage. Juan was doing the ballerina stuff downfield. You know, we are not built to have the Z receiver be our number 1 receiver. We've never had a Randy Moss on our team. But can George do it this game? I can honestly say he was the number 1 receiver in this game. Jefferson's got to step up. He's got to do better. But we'll see how that goes moving forward. Dennis Wright. Truth is a young Ben snuck in all the time. Then at some point, Tomlin took the quarterback sneak out of the playbook. It was sad. It actually was because of Ben. Ben did not want to run the quarterback sneak. If Ben was the competitor and the manly man he was saying he was, He would have audibled quarterback sneaks. He would have forced himself to go out there and do more quarterback sneaks. He didn't want to take that hit. He did not like that because it came down to that Ravens game that we had the one time when he was sneaking in the Ravens game and they were de-helmeting him. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't even see. That's on Ben more than it's on Tomlin. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Pour yourself a glass of it. Leave a little bit. Pour yourself a glass, okay? Put it on ice. Thank you for asking. That was a good way to ask. Miles, I'm really excited to see Roman Wilson come back and play at wide receiver. I am too, Miles, because right now we really don't have that X receiver yet, and I was expecting Roman Wilson to be that guy. He just has to stay healthy. Quincy, hashtag here we go. Thanks, Quince. Let me know your questions and comments. Happy to have you on the show. I'm glad you're here, my friend. Miles, also, can we switch Broderick to left side and bench Moore? I can't stand seeing him play. Well, the only problem with the way that we've developed this offensive line is how can you bench Moore yet? He's not making mistakes. He's stopping the other team's top, right outside linebacker from getting to your quarterback. Like, it just – my only problem right now with the Steelers is we've drafted 2 left tackles and both of them are playing right tackle. That's my problem. We got 2 blue chip left tackles in drafts playing right tackle. And a 4th rounder starting at left tackle. But they can't unseat him. Broderick Jones, by size, is a better chance of being a better left tackle than the next guy we just drafted. I forget his name just off the top. Oh, I forget it too. Screw it. They suck. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You're a Browns fan. Your team's going to lose later, and we'll root against your team. No, you won't. So that's the only aspect that I have. And my only problem with the way the Steelers drafted was stating, hey, we're going to keep banking on left tackles. And right now we have 3 left tackles on our team and 2 of them are playing right tackle. It's weird. It's weird. Chico, man, Jalen Warren needs to be more involved in the offense. 4 touches is just not enough. I agree. I'd like to see more balance, but it's not the reason why we lost the game. We didn't lose the game. Najee had to get his touches too. Najee only had 20 plus a reception missed on a target where he's wide open. Plus, Jalen Warren also had, 2 good plays with the ball in the air. So I'm not going to stink on that. But as a Steeler fan, as a guy that wants to see Najee continue to be stronger down the stretch, hopefully getting to the playoffs, wanting him to be healthy for the playoffs, we do have to get the ball to Warren more often. I agree with that, Chico. And good to see you, my friend. Dennis Wright, yep. Ben was a wimp. Exactly. I love Ben. He was a big dude. His problem was he'd always kind of complain about those nitpicky injuries and because Cowher would get mad at him about it. And then Tomlin would get mad about talking about stuff which shouldn't be talked about. But, Ben is also one of the all-time great quarterbacks ever playing this league and will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Got us 2 Super Bowls, got us to 3, should have had 3 Super Bowls. But it's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But you got to take the good with the bad with Ben, because with Ben, we at least knew we always had a chance. I was telling people in my seats, because I'm a season ticket holder, you're not going to see me after the game on home games because I'll be in Pittsburgh. But 3rd and long. Last 3 years, when it's 3rd and long, what did we all think? Well, hopefully he'll manage this so we can punt. With Ben, there was no such thing as a 3rd and long he couldn't convert. 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20, he could convert those 3rd downs. And I watched him do it time and time again. The guy could ball. And it's sad that we don't get to see that week in and week out anymore. But I am very happy, at least, with the way that this team and the general manager, Omar Khan, have chosen to restock the quarterback room when we had Kenny Pickett and Rudolph going into the offseason. And now we have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. We have 2 franchise quarterbacks where we got rid of 2 guys, where one's going to be a career backup in Rudolph, and the other one was supposed to be a franchise guy, ended up being Tim Tebow. Was a Tim Tebow player. Kept the game close, could win it in the fourth. I think we're in a much better spot with these quarterbacks now that we currently have on our roster than we've been taking the Ben Roethlisberger era even out of it. I think this is our best quarterback roster since Bradshaw. Yep, I'll say it again. This is our best quarterback roster since Bradshaw went out, since if you're taking out Ben Roethlisberger era. Think about it. Who was backing up Bubby Brister? Can you even think of it? Who was backing up Neil O'Donnell? Did we even have a backup for Neil O'Donnell? He's a good quarterback. Same thing for, Neil O'Donnell and Cordell Stewart were probably the next closest, in my opinion. You guys can argue with me if you want, but I will take Russell Wilson and Justin Fields over Neil O'Donnell and Cordell Stewart. So I will say it again. This is our best quarterback pairing since the Bradshaw era, if you're not considering Ben Roethlisberger. Because probably Ben Roethlisberger left, which I would take that one over what we have now. But this quarterback pairing right now that we have now is better than any of our down years between Bradshaw and Roethlisberger and any years that we've had since Roethlisberger. Nobody can argue with me. And guys, that's the end of the show. Hell, I am happy to have another win. Week 1, it feels great. We already know right now we're at the top of the division because Cincinnati, game behind us. Baltimore Ravens, game behind us. Now we can root for the Dallas Cowboys tonight to see if they're going to be a game behind us. And if some of that happens, the Steelers will happily take their week 1 lead in the NFC North, being Kings of the North. We'll have to see. But guys, thank you for joining me on my show. I should be jumping up on Tuesday next week. That's generally the day that I do the Strikers Inside Slant during the week. So go on over. Make sure you subscribe over on YouTube/Steeler Nation. So I know a lot of you guys, you get the indications as soon as I come through. But if you're on there, you know when I'm going to pop on. You jump on over. You give me questions, give me your comments, and we always have a good time. So guys, enjoy the victory. Enjoy the night. Have a great night. Dennis, will go back to you. Keeping the game close and winning the fourth is Tomlin. Did you watch the game today or any game in the last 5 or 6 seasons? But you got to realize there, Dennis, did we have a quarterback the last 3 seasons? Did we even have a quarterback? And yes, we still won those games in the fourth quarter. That's what a great coach does. That's what, Cowher did the same thing. Watch Cowher. Watch Cowher the way he iced games in the fourth quarter with 1-score games, with the running game. Great coaches know how to win in the fourth quarter, and you cannot call it a negative when Tomlin still continues to do it with dog shit quarterbacks. Duck. Duck got like 5 wins. Oh my gosh, man. Like there should have been no way we had a winning season after Ben Roethlisberger went down week 2 in that season. And we ended up with a winning record with Duck, Hodges, and frickin' Mason Rudolph. Much as you guys want to kill Tomlin, that was an incredible year. And I thought last year he should have gotten Coach of the Year. I honestly do. He had Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph. And we had to win 5 out of our last 6 games to get to the playoffs. And we still needed a lot to happen to do it. And we managed a way to do it with Mason Rudolph being our guy, who I've always said, if you missed the show on Friday or some of my shows last year, Mason Rudolph was the best deep ball quarterback we've had on the roster for the past 3 years, up until now with Fields and Russell Wilson, because they can throw deep balls. But when Ben's arm went after the elbow surgery, Mason Rudolph was our best deep ball quarterback and the only quarterback on our roster that could get the ball open deep consistently to a receiver. That's why we won games. The other teams weren't ready for it. They really weren't. Randy and Sharon Z, where are you going? We got stuff to give me some questions. Let's talk about some discussions here, Randy. Sharon, I'm gonna have some drinks here of my boozy Dr. Pepper, Corona, and Amor Amaretto. I'm wrecked, by the way. I'm just a very high functioning drinker. Mm. But if you can't give me a question or comment in the next 20 seconds or so, I'm gonna pop out. Guys, anybody that was down there in Atlanta today, I hope you had a blast at the terrible tailgate. I know we had Yancey Thigpen there. I know we had Greg Lloyd. It was a great show. Thank you so much to Justin and the crew at Steeler Nation for making sure that was put on, because a lot of Steeler Nation got to that tailgate, had a great time. And if you were part of it too, I hope you had a great time. Just let me know what you're thinking. This is your last chance to get a question or comment in, because this is where I'm going to usually start signing off. I'm just going to go down through the scores here quick, just so we get a quick idea of how the week ended up. Of course, Steelers won 18-10 in Atlanta. Raiders ended up, they're up right now currently 7-3 over the Chargers. Broncos and Seahawks are currently deadlocked at 3-3 with 44 seconds left in the first quarter. Buccaneers are up 3-0 against Commanders in a game that no one cares about. Dallas Cowboys are up 7-3 on the Browns. I'm going to turn that game on here shortly on the computer, because I don't want to watch this Washington Tampa Bay debacle. Night game tonight will be the Rams and the Lions. I know tomorrow should be San Francisco and the Jets. Guys, if you want a sure bet on San Francisco to win. I don't know how everybody's like, preseason Jets are going to win the Super Bowl. It's like, you're talking about an old ass quarterback that didn't play last year, a single down, like maybe 2-3 downs before he lost his ACL. And you think they're going to the Super Bowl? Really? They're not going to beat San Francisco. You remember what happened when we saw San Francisco week 1? We got our asses handed to us, because they're a consistent team. They've got the nucleus still together. And Brock Purdy's going to carve them up like a Thanksgiving turkey. I think that's one of the easiest bets this week is San Francisco over the Jets. I just think it is. I really do. And I was also up on the Minnesota Vikings over the Giants as well, which they end up beating them 28-6. Miami came back and beat those Jags 20-17. Patriots beating the Bengals in Queen City. Watching the mistake by the river there, and for the Bengals, couldn't happen to a better team. I got to look up some of the stats on this game. Holy crap! Brisket was their quarterback. Oh gosh, I love Brisket. 15 for 24, 121 yards, sacked once, no touchdown, no interceptions. Though Stevenson had 25 rushes for 120 yards and a touchdown. That was the difference in the game. The receivers didn't do crap. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, the great Joe Burrow, 21 for 29. That's decent efficiency, but only 164 yards, sacked 3 times. I can't wait to play him. Top rusher, Moss, with 9 rushes for 44 yards. They abandoned the run. Had a touchdown, though. Chase had 6 receptions for 62 yards. Worse stats than George Pickens. That's interesting. That is interesting. So probably trying to watch that on later on. I'll probably try to watch the highlights on that, see what happened. Buffalo found a way to come back against the Cardinals when they were down at the half. They ended up winning 34-28. Houston, Houston Texans ended up beating the Colts 29-27. And then the Titans lost to the Bears big. Bears won 24-17. I think I won my football week with that score. Saints 47-10 over Carolina, in the most lopsided win of the weekend thus far. Of course, Chiefs beat the Ravens on Thursday 27-20. Eagles beat the Packers 34-29 on Friday. And then we got to watch this 49ers Jets, which I say take the 49ers with the points. I think that's the safest bet of the freaking year so far. Miles, Deshaun Watson gets rubbed the wrong way when he doesn't complete a pass. Oh. I like what you did there, my friend. I like what you did there, my friend, with all those massage issues that guy has, getting rubbed the wrong way when he doesn't complete pass. Love you, my friend. My favorite. Oh gosh, you are a paramedic of Steeler Nation. You know that, man. I love you, my friend. And a great take. And that's the one I'm going to go off on because nobody else had a question or comment. But guys, let's all be happy. Celebrate this win. Steelers are 1-0. And thus far, no other team in the AFC North can say that. And hopefully after 8 o'clock, we can still say the same thing if Dallas is also on the top. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Make sure you subscribe, like I said, over to youtube.com/SteelerNation. And then you'll know when I'm popping up. I'll be back up again on Tuesday, probably around the 8 o'clock hour Eastern time. That's generally when I come up, somewhere between 8 and 9. And then we'll talk again for about an hour because that's about what I do for my shows. And that's all the time I have now on Strikers Inside Slant. I will, of course, be rooting along with you as always. Go